right, Kim Thuy. So
On y va?
we're on y va. So
We
here we
go.
go. Thank you for joining us. Uh, Kim Thuy is on Eastern time. I'm on Central time. But what bonded us is really this soup. And what is fascinating again is she's in Montreal, usually Montreal or Montreal. I'm often in Paris or in Evanston. And yet again, what bonds us is again the soup and the rice. And so,
It's more
Kim,
than that. More than that, because we love food. Before the
that's
cooking, is
true.
that we love food, and we're both Vietnamese, and we both speak French. Uh, uh,
That's
yes,
right.
Vietnamese as the mother tongue, but I think French is really our second mother tongue, in a way.
Yeah.
And so we have many points in common, Tal, not just one.
That's right. I did not know that. But now, to whet everyone's appetite, could you tell us a bit what this soup means to you and
Oh,
why we chose it?
I think it's a soup that is from really typical of the south of Vietnam, in the sense that it's with a lot of herbs and a lot of fresh vegetables, right? Pineapple and the, how do you call that? L'oreille éléphant, the taro, the
The
taro.
taro root or the elephant ear stems?
And so you have a mixture of so many fresh vegetables, but in a soup and with fish. Tamarind, of course, is the basis of many soups in the south of Vietnam. Less so in the north of Vietnam, because tamarind is less available in the north of Vietnam. And so this is, yeah, when you eat it right away, it's having summer in your mouth. It's not spring, it's really summer.
So it's great. You can see this soup is going to just leap us right into summer. In Chicago, we need it because it's been kind of frigid. And so if we could just start and then we can talk about it more. So everyone, I invite you to learn within like less than 9 minutes how to make this fantastic southern soup.
Welcome to FrancoFun Food Vietnam. Today we'll make sweet and sour soup or can chua ca, and we'll need 2 3/4 ounce of tamarind pulp, 3 tablespoons of fish sauce, 1 1/4 pound of tilapia cut into 1-inch steaks, 1 wedge of pineapple, 2 Roma tomatoes, 8 to 10 fresh okra, 1 taro stalk, a cup and a half of bean sprouts, 1 bunch of rice paddy herbs or ngò om, salt and pepper, fried onion or fried garlic, and bird's eye chili. We cut our pineapple quarter in two, lengthwise, and we cut each piece into 1/2-inch slices. We cut our tomatoes in wedges. We chop our rice paddy herbs. We slice diagonally our fresh okra. Let's peel our taro stalk by inserting the knife beneath the skin and pulling away. We then slice diagonally our peeled stalk. We clean our bean sprouts by nipping off heads and tails. It can be quite time consuming, but it is the most perfect occasion for great conversation around the kitchen table. Doesn't that make it worthwhile? we slice our bird's eye chili peppers. If we prefer less heat, firstly, we cut open our chili peppers. Then we scrape off the seeds. Finally, we slice our bird's eye chili peppers. Now, we can make our spicy or not so spicy dipping sauce by placing the chili peppers in a small dish and by adding fish sauce. We went grocery shopping, we finished our food prep. Now we get to cook. We put our tamarind pulp in a bowl. Once our water is boiling, we pour it into the bowl and we cover. Firstly, in a pot, we add 3 tablespoons of fish sauce to 6 cups of water. Then, we pass the tamarind paste and its soaking water through a sieve placed on the pot. And, using a wooden spoon, we work the paste so as to extract as much pulp as possible. Finally, we discard the cores and residual fibers. We stir well and bring to a boil. We place our fish steaks in the boiling broth and cook them for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, we remove our fish. And set it aside. We add our tomatoes to the broth. We add our pineapple and we bring to a boil. When it boils again, we add our taro slices. We add our okra slices. We season lightly with salt and pepper. And continue cooking for 2 minutes. At which time we put back our fish steaks. We add our rice paddy herbs. We add our bean sprouts and we let simmer. Finally, we remove from the heat. It's a soup, so we must serve it hot. As a finishing touch, we sprinkle with fried onion or fried garlic. We dip fish bites in our spicy or not so spicy dipping sauce. We made it! This is sweet and sour soup, or canchoca. I thank Kim Thuy, who shared ce secret des Vietnamiennes. And my ventriloquist self thanks you for joining FrancoFun Food Vietnam Edition.
So now everyone has done it. I sound like an awesome chef. All the instructions were pulled from Kim Thuy's book. So I just had to kind of pretty much add a little we here and we there, we knew, but that was about that. But I really thank you. And so here we might as well delve into it. I mean, I have Le Secret des Vietnamiennes. I mean, again, what's fascinating to me is, again, I thought, hey, it is a cookbook, all right. And yet, pretty much you can see, it starts right away with Kim Thuy's family, right? The parents and grandparents. And the end of the book, just to say to bookend it, are just basically most likely sister and aunt or a sister and nieces. And you can see it's all about family. And so Le Secret des Vietnamiennes, the secret from her kitchen, it's not any Vietnamienne, it's really your family, all the females, all the women in your family. And so I wanted to see, again, just like in V, Ru, M, your novels, it's fascinating, especially we talked about it with Martine Hébert about parity. Your novels, your works are just populated with super strong women. Of course, we recognize, a lot of us recognize our aunts, grandmothers, sisters, but I wanted to see, because we're talking about food, what food actually means to you. What does cuisiner, cooking, nourrir, feeding or nurturing, mean to you? And basically, as you can tell, and this is like really a testament of all the love in your family, what the association between food and love to you?
As you know, Thao, in Vietnamese, we rarely express or verbalize our emotions, right? We don't know how to, well, we don't often say, I love you, I'm proud of you, I'm sad, or any of that. You know, of course, we live the same emotions, we have the same emotions, but they are written down. You can read about them, but it's very rare that we would say it verbally. And I've just met a young girl, a Vietnamese, who's here studying, and she felt very lonely. And all of a sudden here, she hears so many people say, I love you, je t'aime, you know, everywhere. And so all of a sudden she said, oh, how come my mom has never said I love you to me? And so she texted home, you know, to her mom in Saigon, and she used English, not Vietnamese, to say, I love you, mom, really in English like that. And her mom right away called her and said, are you okay? Are you sick? Do you need any money? She thought that there was something really bad happening to her. And then so the daughter, she said, Mom, I need to know if you love me. And then the mom just said, of course, you smelly fermented sauce. Of course, I love you. That's what she said. Smelly fermented sauce. You know, that's how she called her. And to make the daughter, you know, cried right away. To her, it was the most endearing way to say I love you. And even in that moment, right? We want to say I love you. We need to use food, fermented sauce. You know, why do you call your daughter the fermented sauce? It's because everything is through food. My mom, she has come to this, well, since this morning, I think there are at least 10 different little bits and pieces of food because I live next door to my mom. And so she comes every, hour at least to bring food. It's her way to say I love you, because we don't know any other ways, I think. And also, well, food, it's about women, because back then, Thao will confirm, I think, you cannot give your recipe to your neighbor or to your friends, because women were scared that the other women who would know the same recipe would be able to steal your man, because we think that we can hold our husband by the stomach. So all the recipes were given only from mother to daughter or in the same family, but very secretly, never openly. And for the longest time, not now, because with technology everything is being shared, but back then when we bought a recipe book in Vietnamese, from the beginning that there is a mistake, not a mistake, but a mystery. There's something that is wrong in the recipe. So when we bought a recipe book, it was the game was to find where the mistake was. Where's Waldo? And all of this. And so that's what food is to me. Even when I don't cook, to eat something that we order or from the freezer, I would put rice in the oven just to grill it, because just the smell of it makes it feel home. I fool my children and they think that I cooked, but I didn't cook. I just put rice in the oven. It's like bread, when you go into a home with the smell of bread or a pie being cooked, oh my God, you fall in love right away. You feel love, not you fall in love, but you feel love, you feel home right away. And that's what food is about, to me. But I have some comments about your video, which is so perfect. I've never had a clean kitchen like that. But I want to reassure everybody who's here is that, the bean sprout that you cut off the head and the tail, only, we reserve that for the daughter-in-laws. It's like a punishment, you make them do that to take off the tail and the head. In North America, I think you can allow yourself not to take them off. Just to put them in. But of course, Thao being perfect, right? Everything is perfect. And I have the okra. You can cut it in sizes, but if you don't like the texture of the okra a little bit slimy when you cook it, then just cook the whole okra. You put it in the broth a little bit earlier, and you could cook it through. And so when you eat it, the texture of the okra is not all over the soup if you don't like that texture. Of course, if you're Japanese, you want that texture, right? And the last question I have for you, Thao, what did you do with the head and the tail of the fish? That's the best part. Why didn't you put the head and the tail?
So that's a good question. I always like, and it's partly my Vietnamese upbringing, but also the French one, where when you order fish, it has to come fish or shrimp, anything is seafood. It has to come. We have to see the eyes. We have to see the head and the tails. I cooked them offline. Basically, I did it. And so when you see in the video, when I removed the 2 steaks, I removed just before. So after putting the steaks, I threw in the tail and the head. And right after, when I just before I started over, I just fished them out, so that not to gross pretty much people out, because it may, it's kind of like, it depends on the sensitivity. It might kind of offend or kind of gross some of our viewers out, I guess. A reason also I wanted to mention, for can chua kai, of course, it's sweet and sour soup, but fish sweet and sour soup. But really often, sometimes I remember growing up, sometimes it's a quick soup. So my parents, sometimes it's, what do we have in the fridge? All right, we have shrimp. It will be sweet and sour shrimp soup. We do not have that. It will be tofu. Sometimes it's vegetarian. And so what is great is, depending on your dietary preferences, you can pretty much have the soup and still the essence of it, as one of our viewers, participants, I shouldn't say viewers, we're not TV, asked, the rice paddy herbs, I myself didn't know rice paddy herbs was the English name of it. I only know it in Vietnamese, and it's in our home. And I know that that this soup without the ngaom is not the sweet and sour soup. Even though you need the tamarind, you also need that herb. And I really insisted in the video to write it in Vietnamese because, as my special friend who is here, who lent me her beautiful kitchen, when we went to the Vietnamese store, I looked for it and I could recognize it only because it's written in Vietnamese. A lot of the Vietnamese stores, you have to know what you're looking for. They might not know it's called rice fatty herb. It's not written for sure. And so basically the secret is to know it in Vietnamese. Those 2 3 letter words. No, three and 2 letter words.
But you know,
Kim
ngọ,
Thuy?
if you translate that literally, ngọ and om, ngọ means coriander because I
Yep.
think it's in the same family, but om means to hug, you know, to embrace someone. So it's a very beautiful name. It's like a hugging coriander. But if you go to the grocery store and you say that to the Vietnamese, they wouldn't understand, and they would find that you're very weird to say that you want to hug a coriander. But those two words, because om means hugging, or that's how you say it, yeah, or hold somebody in your arms, and ngọ is coriander. So if you cannot find ngọ om, of course coriander can do.
Yeah.
Right, but ngọ om is so particular. The perfume of it is worth trying. And when you make salads, you can add just a bit of it also, and you become the star of the evening because nobody can find, you know, where that taste comes from. It's so particular and so fresh in your mouth. It's almost like you just brush your teeth or something. Oh no, that
Yep.
isn't so good, right? I'm sorry, but
It's all right. We understood.
but you
Now, Kim
see what I
Thuy,
mean, you know, after you just brush your teeth, you just feel freshness, right? And this herbs really gives you that freshness.
I wanted to go back to, you mentioned daughters-in-laws, are pretty much, it's not really a punishment. I guess it's a rite of passage. Now you're part of the family. This is your task to do the nipping of the bean sprouts. It's true that often we'll blanch them when we're just lazy. But I remember the family, it's just kind of like what did you do in French families with the haricots verts, green beans, when you just have to kind of écosser. You will just do it and sit around the table and just talk about it. But now, Kim Thuy, at the table, you mentioned we do not show affection, and like we don't verbalize affections in our culture. And it's true, I'm not really good at doing that. How do you show affection and care at the dinner table in the Vietnamese table? There are many ways. How do you do?
You know, well, because that's why I asked for the head of the fish, right? Because the Vietnamese, usually you serve the whole fish in the middle, especially when we grill them. And the best part in the fish for us is the cheek of the fish, right? And I don't think that the cheek of the fish tastes better, but because it's so small and so rare that they become the most precious parts. And that's when I understood that love was through food, is that we had a grilled fish in the middle of the table, and then my mom was talking, and all of a sudden, you know, like very naturally she went and picked out the cheek of the fish and put it in my father's bowl, very naturally, you know. And I had seen that gesture 1,000 times, right? But ah, it was at that moment that I saw, oh, that's how she says she loves you, you know, I love you to my father. And then because I was there that day, my father gave me the cheeks, right? And my son was there, so I put those cheeks in my son's bowl. And then of course now with the virus we cannot do that anymore, but back then, before the era of COVID-19. And my son, because my mom was there, he took the two cheeks and put it in my mom's bowl. And of course, by then there was no more cheeks, you know, left, because when you pick up with the chopsticks, it breaks up, right? The cheeks. So nobody had any of that cheek, of those cheeks. But I think there was a word, you know, an I love you, a collective I love you traveling around the table. So it's all that's how we do it, I guess. And because in the Vietnamese culture, we can go into somebody's bowl. My husband, who is French Canadian, from Lac Saint Jean, Madame Maxine will tell you that it's really up north, 5 hours north of Montreal. So it's really deep, you know, deep into Quebec. And so the first time he came, he couldn't understand why so many people would put food in his bowl, right? Because all the dishes are in the middle, and then my mom would take something, and I would take something, and my father, and we put so many, you know, pieces of food in his bowl, and he's like, he was cross. How do you say that? He didn't appreciate that, because in the Western culture, your plate is almost like your territory. Nobody should touch your food or go into your plate. Whereas the Vietnamese is about, you know, I love you, I care about you, so I'm gonna go and pick out the best piece and put it in your plate for you, right, in your bowl for you. And I think that's how we share our love. And my mom still does that. I don't think my husband has got, you know, he hasn't got used to that. Even after 25 years, he's like, this is my bowl, don't touch my bowl. But he can say it now. And my mom knows. So she only put the best pieces in our bowls. So he's lost.
Yeah,
And
I mean, that's
I think Emma just asked me how many aunts.
how many ants, yeah.
My mother is from a family of 6 girls and 2 boys. And so the boys are really spoiled by the women. And yeah, so I was basically raised by not only my mother, but also all my aunts. We are very, very close.
And just because I've read your book about the Vietnamese kitchen, each aunt seems to have a different personality and different recipes. They express themselves through their cuisine and their secrets, right?
Absolutely. They all have strong characters and strong personality. So, and they speak a lot. So, and in my family, recipes are not secrets. We share. We share not only among us, but also with friends and with whoever ask us the questions. And when I had the restaurant, I remember my sous chef, who is Vietnamese. I put on all the recipes on the wall just to make sure that if I get sick, somebody else can can replace me. And the next day, she took all of them off and hid them under the rice bag, the bag of rice, to make sure nobody could touch those recipes, because she said, no, you cannot expose that. It's not, it's not good. People can steal. And I said, yes, please do steal. But I guess I don't know if I learned that from Quebec, or it's particular to my family. We are in the sharing mode a lot.
Well, I'm going to share a few things with you from maybe Thao can help me with this. There's lots of recommendation of where to find the famous herbs, fresh herbs for the sweet and sour soup. Park to Shop on Broadway is well stocked. There's also Thao, you said Tay Nam on Broadway.
Yeah, on Broadway as well. Yeah.
Okay. And people said that most of the time, like in Canada, for example, you just go to a Vietnamese grocery. There's always one, or maybe Thao, tell me if I'm wrong, maybe a Chinese grocery would have that. A Chinese market would have the same kind of herbs for sale, and something called the TNT chain. Park to Shop, did I say that, on Argyle? Argyle seems to be the street also for all the kimchi store, right? The Korean kimchi. I hear it's a good place for that too.
Yeah.
You can grow them. My mom grows them.
That's even easier.
Yeah. In the summer, you can really grow them. You just buy some and then you put them in water for the roots to come out. Right. And then after that, it's in a very, how do you say that? Une terre plus marécageuse, with a lot of water.
Lots of water.
Right. Yeah. And so just use like an old aquarium or something.
Yeah. So it's like marshes, as Kim Thuy said, just like marshes, almost like watercress. I mean, it really just grows easily in water.
Yeah.
Wow. So then it's really super fresh. Well, listen, I have a quick question because I'm a big banh mi fan. So I guess maybe you might want to tell us a bit about the influence of French cuisine on Vietnamese cuisine? And also maybe, because I wonder if the same influence happened with the American being in Vietnam for a long time, even though in dire circumstances, did the American cuisine, if we can call it that, add any influence on the Vietnamese, the contemporary Vietnamese cuisine? So those two things.
Yeah. So Thao, you want to go with it, or I go with it?
No, I think you're the expert at it. Judging from your books, you do a lot of research.
No, I just eat a lot. That's you know, my mom always say that there are two kinds of people who can cook: those who are really chef, and those who have eaten a lot. And I think I'm with the second category, right? And I've learned that the word gourmand and gourmandise don't exist in English, right? Because it's so, it carries the French culture, right? To eat with pleasure and guilt at the same time. In English, you have the word gluttony, right? Which is, how do you say that? Un des péchés capitaux.
C'est un péché mignon. Péché mignon.
One of the sins, one of the deadly sins.
One of the deadly sins, right? Gluttony. And in French, you also have that word glouton, but you don't have the word gourmand. Because it's so, you know, it carries really the French culture, right? To enjoy food, and even though we feel guilty, we don't mind, and that mixture of feelings and emotion is so extraordinary. And I think we should learn French just for that, for those two words.
Pour être gourmand et gourmet, absolument.
And that gourmandise, you know, how just the sound of that word is so beautiful. And I wonder why in English we haven't invented a word for that, you know. And when you don't have the word, you cannot live that sensation, I find. And so please, you know.
I think they came close to it when they finally invented the foodie culture. To be a foodie is someone who appreciates food in it's not poetic. It's not poetic. I agree.
Yeah, and there's no guilt. We need guilt in the gourmandise. Because it's so much better when there's a you know,
it's too chic. C'est trop chic. C'est ça. La gloutonnerie, c'est il y a quelque chose de plus. Moi, j'avais une question, Amy, pour Kim, parce que dans son livre, elle exprime en fait comment les recettes se transmettent dans la culture vietnamienne. C'est intéressant, oui.
Okay, so the question from Martin is, she'd like to know how recipes are transmitted from one generation to another since they're held in such tight secret.
Yes, because we are scared of losing the men. We think that if we share our recipe, our neighbor can steal our men. So we should keep it only for ourselves. That's why we didn't want to share the recipes, because yeah, we think that the stomach is the center of the world, not the heart. It's really, and you know, the even in the language, the Vietnamese language as such, the word to love between husband and wife is not the word to love between two lovers. It's a completely different word. It's the near, right? How? And the near means there's a sense of time and compromises and of caring for each other more than love. So and that's why I think in a couple, in Vietnam, we think that it's about the stomach and not the heart, right? It's about the endurance.
Nurture.
Yes, nurture, right?
But in your family, how was it transmitted from your mother to you? Or do you have to reinvent everything, or just by observation? I think that's what Martin wants to know, like how does it pass on from generation to generation? Because there's a knowledge and a craft there that obviously it's important to keep.
Yeah. Well, in my family, my personal family, we share everything, and because back then my grandparents hosted a lot of dinners at home, and so we had a chef specialized in French cuisine and another one in Vietnamese cuisine, and so on. And that's why my mom said that she had the opportunity to eat a lot, and so she knows what to look for, you know, when she cooks, and that's how recipe were transmitted from my grandmother's generation to her, and then her to me. But we in my family, yeah, we share everything. Yeah, we rarely keep any secrets, and that's how I learned to cook. And we were always in the kitchen. We always meet in the kitchen. We spend, when I go visit my aunts in New York or in Washington, D.C., I never get to see any of the city because
you're always in the kitchen.
We're there, we cook from morning to night, we eat, we clean, and then we eat again, and then we eat again. It never stops. So I sometimes when I want to visit a city, I have to hide. And
from the aunts.
Otherwise, we just have to eat and share, the cooking together. But just to go back to bánh mì, you wanted to talk about the Vietnamese sandwich, the so famous sandwich now. I think it's the best example of the mixture of two cultures, the West and, France and Vietnam. Because the Vietnamese, we don't use wheat flour so much.
So no bread.
No bread. And
right.
Also we didn't have an oven, right? We cooked from a coal pot, I would say, like a pot like this with coal inside. So we didn't use the oven, the concept of the oven. So when we learn about cakes, the French cakes, les gâteaux, the way we cook it is that we put the mixture in a pot, and then we put a cover on top, and in order to have heat from both sides, we put burning coals on the cover. So you will have the coal from the pot and the coal from the cover, so it becomes kind of an oven.
A mini oven.
Yes. So to make bread, when the French came, is that they make a box, and they put on top of the coal pot, right, to make bread. So bread is definitely from the French culture. It's not from the Vietnamese culture for that reason. And then inside the bánh mì, you're supposed to have butter and mayonnaise, which are completely French, right? And pâté. Le pâté de foie, c'est absolument, ce n'est que français, je crois. And then, of course, we have to Vietnamize everything, right?
I hope so. Otherwise, it's not a banh mi.
Yes, whatever comes to Vietnam, it change, right? So we instead of taking out, what we did was we added more ingredients inside. So we have a kind of ham, the Vietnamese ham with the skin of the pork. And then we have another kind of sausage that is a boiled sausage, not boiled, but boiled, right?
Right.
Yep.
And then we put daikon and carrots, marinated daikon and carrots, and coriander and cucumber and a bit of soy sauce and chili.
So how do you eat that thing? It just spills all over.
No, that's the beauty of it, right? Everything is really, really thinly sliced, and then it's all mixed together. And then when you bite into a bánh mì, oh my God, you have all these flavors. You travel, in time and in space.
And between culture.
And every bite is different because you never know where the chili piece is, and you don't know when you're gonna hit that coriander leaf, and then the daikon. Oh my God! And then pâté with that pepper inside. Yeah.
Okay, Kim, stop. We're getting really, really hungry. And so now we have to ask Thao about a recommendation about a Vietnamese restaurant in Chicago, either for banh mi or anything else that you think is.
Oh, in Chicago, there's one where I go to. It's Lay's. It's pretty much. I mean, all the Vietnamese restaurants are pretty much in the same area, so Argyle. And so there's Lay's, which is near that plaza. You have Pho Tank, so the famous one at the corner. But I go to Lay's, which is kind of a bit slightly off, not as busy, and really kind of lovely service.
Okay.
And usually, of course, Kim Thuy could talk about it. I order pho usually, just because that's what I like to do. I don't have to make it then. I don't know how to make it anyways. So I have to find
you can do anything, Thao.
Or as Martin Ever said, I'll get bánh xèo. We like to get bánh xèo
Bánh
as
xèo
well.
is very good.
You have
And the banh mi, Kim, correct me, but you have also inspired by French cuisine, le banh mi au plat, which is the banh mi with the egg for the breakfast.
Exactly. I was going to
Oh.
ask you, how come you know so much of the Vietnamese language?
My partner has lived in Saigon for 2 years, Ho Chi Minh, yeah, for 2 years, working for a Médecins du Monde, yeah. So.
Oh, okay. Yes,
So.
you know, we eat that bread in the morning, so you can order just that bread, and then that small lady on the, you know, at the corner
On the street, yeah.
on the street would fry an egg au plat, and we call it ho gà au plat. Et vraiment, c'est au plat. It's from
Banh mi au plat.
And that's why they call banh mi au plat.
Oui, banh mi au plat.
With the Maggi sauce.
Yes.
Lots of sauce Maggi. Yeah, Maggi sauce.
But
You find that at the, yeah.
Maggi sauce.
It's amazing. It's umami, pure, it's umami in a bottle. If you find that at the Vietnamese store, buy that, put that on your eggs in the morning with a little bit of fresh coriander, and it's fantastic. On a French baguette, coriander, and you have banh mi au plat.
Yeah, and you know the Vietnamese, we eat really rice with just a fried egg on top with magie, and yeah, it's part of
Sauce Maggi.
yeah.
Well, then I have a really good question for Thao, because Kim seems to say that only women are in the kitchen, and there you are cooking that beautiful dish. So do things have changed? Have things changed in Vietnam? And is cooking still the sole domain of women, or is there a bit more equality and men are allowed to be chef as well?
I think the reality is, you know, as Kiki said, and I mentioned, she's in Montreal, and here we have family members, most likely, let me guess, in Australia, somewhere in, so Quebec, Australia, Europe, a bit everywhere. I think because of the diaspora, the reality is, so to go back, yes, I think traditionally in Vietnam, the Vietnamese culture is still very traditionalist. It is the women who cook. I remember grandmas, aunts who will take care of everything in the kitchen. Men do not go. For them, the thought of going doesn't even cross their mind. But even if they wanted to, they would just pretty much be banned, because basically I remember going sometime, and my aunt would tell me, no, you don't know how to do anything. You gotta get in the way, get out of here. And so that was pretty much that. So there is kind of really gendering. I mean, the gender roles are used to be very strict. And it's true that a lot of recipes, I remember when we talk about families, my cousins, my female cousins know all the recipes and how to cook so well, the older female cousins, because they were basically the sous chef of my aunts. They were just like helping out, and that's how they've learned. Now, again, to go back to now the diaspora, the reality is everyone has jobs. Everyone has, sometimes the breadwinner is going to be, the bread earner is going to be the woman. And so my father, a lot of my uncles had to kind of learn to first cook their little eggs and make their egg on rice. But really, everyone had to pitch in. And I think now, again, because of society, and you see the foodies, you see all the chefs on TV, it is acceptable now to kind of see as well, it's fine to cook. So for me, personal experience, coming to the United States was fine. Again, it was easy to go, well, except when I was in little towns, it was not easy to find a Vietnamese restaurant. And so I could not find, but even that, the restaurants do not have some of the dishes that are really the homemade dishes, the home dishes, such as chua, for instance. So I had to start learning. And how I did, again, was dial my aunt's, that was before, you know, FaceTime, Line, and WhatsApp, dial my aunt's phone number and ask her, hey, Auntie, how do you do this? And I had to write, and she would tell me, you have to take Ngo Om. I'm a heritage speaker, so I do not read, I do not write. I had to tell her, could you spell it for me? And so she would just spell it for me with the accent, and I would match it. Now I go to the store, I'll pronounce whatever I see as many times as I can until it matches what I have in hand, and then I'll know it is it. And so that's now, yeah, a lot more men are cooking and they really delve into it. And I think that's just great, again, because they contribute to, again, the passing on of all those family recipes.
And my father, he didn't know how to fry an egg when we arrived here, but now he would say that he's the best cook for pho. Nobody can make it better than he does, of course, and for many other dishes, but also in Vietnam. There's also a change in Vietnam in the sense that the men now who cook are the foodies. They think that that it becomes chic to cook basically in Vietnam, and
Of
so
course, because men do it.
exactly, right? And the women are just happy to not cook and let them cook, right? Yeah, sure, do it. But so many of my cousins now, the male cousins, cook very, very well. But like Tao said, it's the reality of society, how it has changed. But yeah, now men cook as well as women in the Vietnamese home. But I would say that we keep on, wanting to cook the Vietnamese women, because in my case anyway, I think that it's a privilege to be able to cook and to create memory for our children or for our loved ones. When do you get to create memories, right? So my sons still think that I make the best spaghetti sauce in the world because the first spaghetti sauce that they've eaten was from me, and they had to eat the same sauce every week, for the last 20 years. And so and that's a beauty of being able to cook for someone, is to create that, to trace that memory lane for them. And I know that in 20 years he will come back and he will still think that I have the best spaghetti sauce,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I do use cooking as a manipulation, a memory manipulation, whatever. I don't know how you call that, but yeah.
Well, listen, we're coming close to the end of our program about Vietnam, Francophone food, but I would like to ask Kim if she could read an excerpt from her new book, her most recent book, just published in Quebec and in France, available in French on Kindle right now. It's a beautiful book. It's called M, E-M, M, tout simplement.
Yeah.
And it will be published in the States in September, and the publisher will be Seven Stories. So I think Kim is able to read just a little excerpt that, of course, will have to do with food. And I think she has the English version.
Yes, and my translator, if she knew, she would kill me, because this is
Okay, let's keep this between us, okay?
Yeah, it's a first version, right? So it's not edited, it's not nothing. So I'll just read it to you.
D'accord.
Anyway, with my bad accent, you can blame it on me. So it's a chapter about pho, about this famous Vietnamese soup, right? So no Vietnamese living in Vietnam made pho bouillon at home, but every Vietnamese living outside Vietnam prepared or ate a homemade pho at least once, because expatriate Vietnamese couldn't just leave the house and go to a pho kiosk on the street corner. In Saigon, there are probably as many pho sellers as there are alleyways. Each counter differs according to the precise balancing of its recipe, according to the proportions of its various ingredients: cinnamon, nutmeg, coriander seeds, star anise, cloves, ginger, oxtail, beef flank, beef bones, chicken bones, bavette, beef tendon, fish sauce, shallots, chopped onion, fresh coriander, Thai basil, bean sprouts, rice vermicelli, pepper, fresh chili pepper, pepper sauce. It's impossible to reproduce these bouillons at home, cooked in cauldrons that for 2 or 3 decades have been used and served an intimate space for slow exchanges, shy aromas, and the noblest of perfumes. If scientists were to make a close study of those vessels, they would find traces of their owners' taste buds. The cinnamon rising first from the cauldron of the woman on Hahoy Street, while that of her neighbor was set apart by the burnt scent of grilled ginger. The variations number at least 24 to the power of 24. Everyone has a favorite spot. Friends exchange addresses. Lovers are drawn to the first bowl they shared together. School children make their choices according to size and quantity. Families return nostalgic to the same place generation after generation. Once upon a time, Louis savored the soups favored by other clients. Nothing was wasted because he grabbed the bowls as soon as the clients rose from their stools. If he didn't hurry, the waiters poured what was left into a pail that went to the pigs. In time, he learned to recognize the clients by what was left of the soup. There was the one who always scented her fur with 10 or 15 basil leaves that she frantically tore from their stems while her sister emptied the plate of bean sprouts into her bowl. The bodybuilder client dropped a raw egg into the soup along with an extra ladle of fat. Louis became accustomed to pepper thanks to a very old woman who colored her soup red. He always wondered whether the woman's eyesight had deteriorated or if her taste buds had become numbed from her having spent too much time scolding people. The owner of the stall muttered that only the hugely jealous ate such hot spice. Louis was the sum of all those clients. That's it. I'm sorry for my accent. Blah!
Merci, 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 merci. Kim, écoutez, je vais faire un petit ce qu'on appelle un wrap-up. C'est comme c'est pas très, très vietnamien, mais je remercie abondamment et avec beaucoup d'honneur d'avoir Kim avec nous ce soir. Un grand merci à Thao qui est parti à l'aventure de la cooking démo sur vidéo. On sent son amour de la cuisine vietnamienne et ça paraît. J'aimerais remercier Martine Hébert qui est avec nous ce soir. Martine qui connaît bien la cuisine et qui connaît bien la cuisine vietnamienne en plus, qui est notre partenaire québécoise de toujours, la délégation du Québec. Je sais bien que Martine est la première femme représentante du Québec à Chicago, mais on travaille avec les représentants du Québec à Chicago depuis très longtemps et avec toujours beaucoup de plaisir. Je remercie son équipe, Martin, Kérit, entre autres.
C'est moi qui vous dis come on you, come on you.
Oui, come on you.
Come on you.
Notre équipe aussi, puis aussi remercier tout le monde qui est avec nous aujourd'hui. Je vais arrêter de les spotlights, je vais m'enlever un petit peu de la spotlight parce que je veux voir tout le monde. Hein, on va enlever tout ça pour essayer de voir tout le monde. Excusez-moi, je vais faire un petit truc. Et puis ici, voilà. Et si vous faites en mode galerie, vous allez pouvoir voir tout le monde. Je devrais pouvoir voir tout le monde. Voilà, je vois tout le monde. Et maintenant, je vais tout simplement vous inviter à, avec les microphones, comment on appelle ça, to unmute yourself. Sorry, I'm speaking French now. I'm getting really confused. I will ask you to unmute yourself to be able to give a gigantic round of applause for our Francophone Vietnam today. Voilà.
Bravo, Thao, merci.
Mais il n'y a personne qui
s'unmute.
Attends un peu, est-ce que je n'ai pas fait le bon truc? Attends un petit peu. Êtes-vous capable de vous unmuter? Allow participants to unmute themselves. I did. S'il vous plaît, tout le monde, unmute yourself. Voilà. On recommence. Bravo. Merci beaucoup. Et pour vous dire que notre prochain programme francophone, c'est ce dimanche, le Ciné Club. It's a cine club with Matthew Jackson, and you need to see the movie before you come and discuss. The movie is called La Nuit des Rois, The Night of the Kings. It's a co-production, Canada, France, and Côte d'Ivoire. The film is nominated for the Foreign Film Oscar, and it is only available for streaming for free for 24 hours. from, if I remember well, from 1 p.m. Saturday to 1 p.m. Sunday, with the Cine Club being on Sunday at 1:30. So we're very grateful for our Canadian friend for making this happen, making it available. And on this, je suis pas capable de faire escape, voilà, parce que je peux pas trouver mes notes. Okay, you know, it's Zoom. We're still toying with this animal. Trying to tame it. Mais encore une fois, merci tout le monde. Et je pense que Gabi a préparé un petit breakout room pour nous. Mais sur ce, on vous dit au revoir. Bonne fin de soirée. We tell you à la prochaine. And thank you very much for being with us tonight. Au revoir.
Beaucoup. Merci.
Merci.